let's create a poll, a real quick poll here. And we're going to see what it is, what we're going to topic options. Okay, so newsletters, groups, forms. Okay, so I just thrown out a poll there. Everybody let me know what it is you want to focus on today for those options there. Got newsletters, groups, forums, and invoices, and website and SEO topics. And just to remind everybody, this is like the members only coaching seminar webinar, and this is about going deeper with the product. If you do have, and we know that some of our customers are experiencing bugs here and there that we're addressing, and so this isn't the best place to talk about those. We definitely have, our support team is ready to handle those. But if you've got something that you want to try to do, or a question about how to get value out of the different tools, we want these sessions to be an opportunity to work on the bigger picture things that can really drive a lot of value. And I want to say something, actually. I really thought about this last night. I was talking with one of our team members, Pat. And one thing that we're noticing when we talk to schools, because it's really easy, because there's so many different little things that you have to do and be involved with, on a moment-to-moment level. It's really easy to focus on the trees and really miss the forest, right? So what we were discussing last night is trying to figure out how to help schools focus on the forest, how to because let's be honest, right? What I'll ask you guys, and I would love to get some feedback from you in the chat box here, right? What Tell me, what does great parent communication look like? Like, what does it actually, like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Like, when you have, if you could vision for a second with me, what what does your what's your life like? What is a day in the life of a school leader that has an incredible parent communication system? What should that mean to you? Throw out some ideas to me. Like, does it mean you've got more margin in your day, to focus on higher value things? Does it mean like you have less chasing people around and repetitively reminding people over and over again? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think to really make a drastic change in sort of the growth trajectory of your school, um, and that doesn't mean more enrollment. That could just mean like a the the overall culture and vibe, and performance of your school, right? So like, um, that's like a huge thing. So that's like the big target. So if you're like looking at a forest in the distance, right, and you want to walk over to the forest, there's going to be little things in your way, right? You're going to have to hop over a creek. There might be a boulder you got to jump over, but these are just little things. But if you're focused on the goal, and I really think that the goal of having incredible parent communication should supersede anything. And little things you got to jump over or avoid, um, to get to that point. I think it's worth it. I really do. And the reason why I bring it up is because what we have a lot of conversations, in either in when we're talking to prospective schools or we're talking to our existing customers, because there's a lot of little things that you have to do, that can you know make you fill up your day with like little busy tasks, busy work. And I really want to encourage schools in general to not lose sight of the most important thing, because of course the most important thing is how well you're educating children. But on another level, you could say, if you're not communicating with the children's parents, and if the parents don't know how amazing your teachers are, or how amazing the programming is in your school, um, you might you might say that, like, it's not pointless. Of course, the children are having amazing programming, but I think that, like, if your customer, so to speak, to really put this almost into just a sort of a more of a business, position, if your customer is not understanding how great you are of a school, you're actually hurting your opportunity to grow, right? Because really, they're the ones that are going to keep their kids in your school. They're the ones that are going to tell their friends to put their kids in your school as well. And they're not going to do that if they don't know how great you are. So they need to know how great you are. And prospective parents also need to know how great you are. And those types of things, those elements, I would say, if we were to take a pie chart and say, what's the most important thing? How great our communication system is, or how easy our invoicing tool is, or like, if I like how this button looks, or if I like where this page is, like, I think the overall you know the overall quality of your parent communication is, bar none, the most important thing, probably by 80 or 90%, right? So we got a couple comments here I want to read. Stephanie says, I want to be able to easily obtain information for staff and parents, perhaps a mergeable system to be able to pull different fields of information quickly. I want to be efficient and not have to go through a million steps to get information I need, from invoices to student classroom information. Yeah, so that's great. So the question is, why? Why do you want an efficient system, right? An efficient system is going to let you do what? What is it going to let you do? What are you going to be doing when you've got that extra margin in your day from an efficient system? Heather says, parents and teachers read newsletters / other communication sources so that they know what is going on and that they are not calling about those types of questions, right? The nuts and bolts. Parent questions and conversations should be focused on the children or philosophy. That's great. I love that. Communication should be easy, right? Because what you need is a system that makes communication easy, and so those nuts and bolts, you don't have to worry about or fiddle with. Um, and 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 I think that that's why, with Hubbli, um, we really try to focus more than anything on the communication tools. And of course, they could be better, and we're always working to make them better and better. Um, but if you look at our product, we build everything into this private social network. So I want to, like, talk about that for a second. What does a private social network mean? Because that really is the starting point of Hubbli. So you've got these groups, right? And the groups is where you place people so that you can communicate with specific groups of people in a specific context. The reason why that's there, the reason why we did that, is because we've been talking to schools for years now. We see that they're trying to use tools like Facebook and, like, Twitter, creating Twitter hashtags and channels and things like that. But the problem is that those tools have other issues with them that kind of get in the way of, like, school communication management. Um, so one thing that we did recently is we added newsletters inside of the groups. So I'm gonna show that to you guys now. I'm gonna talk about what how newsletters works. Does anybody, if I could just ask, is anybody here not aware of the updates made to the newsletter feature? So if anybody didn't know that we made some really big updates to the newsletter feature and made them more accessible to groups, let me know, because that's a really important thing for us to understand from our customers. Not aware. Okay, Monica, you didn't know that. So this is a huge update. Um, we just started using the system. Okay, great. So let me kick into that because this is such an important feature. I mean, what do schools do if you don't send newsletters, right? So I'm going to jump into the groups. Okay, awesome. So Heather, good. So this is telling me that this is a good one to talk about. So I'm going to just queue up the demo site and jump into a group, and we're going to talk about group newsletters. And again, guys, I'm really sorry for the delay. Okay. All right, and I'm going to jump into the right role here. So just take me probably another 30 seconds to get this ready to present to you. I'm just working on this old laptop that's a lot slower than my poor guy that just got doused with a bunch of water. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Whoa. Infinite loop. Okay, that was trippy. All right. So so here we are on the Hubbli demo site. And so we've got some basic groups here set up. I'll just go into class 104. It's the one I always generally use in our demos. And so what we have here is the group. I'm sure everyone is pretty familiar with these groups. A couple of updates we made actually to the system for any of our older customers that have been around for a while and maybe didn't catch this update. This is actually really important. So why don't we make this about just group communication? Now that newsletters are baked into the groups as well, I think this is a really good topic because honestly, this is probably the most important feature we have. Um, if if you want to communicate with a specific group of parents, usually based on their child's class, this is where you want to go. So if you're a teacher, if you're office staff, and you want to send a message to the parents of this one class, you can go in here and you can type something really simple. Like down here we see like I recently posted, remember today's pizza day. This is a nice in the moment reminder, just like sending out a message to the parents, right? So I'll just do another one here, like hey guys, remember to send your kids to school with hats for the outdoor programming. Okay, that's a normal thing. I'm going to go ahead and post it. So what's going to happen now is it's going to, all right, so I'm actually logged in as Pat Kennefic, so I posted that. Now take a look at something here. On this one, you might notice that down here it says email stats, and it says delivered and opened and replied. So if I click on that, like opened, I can now click on that, and it's going to tell me who in that group opened that message. These are the people that opened that message. Isn't that nice to know? That's really helpful. It could even tell me who replied to that message. So, and it can also just confirm, all the people that it got delivered. That it was delivered to all these people. That's helpful information. It could also tell you who clicked on it. Like if there was a link in it, right? It could even tell you who clicked on it. So if I so let's say, so I'm a member of that group, and I'm actually gonna pull up my email system here, and we'll show you what happens now. So again, I'm probably some of us, I'm probably saying things that are totally redundant. You know this stuff already, but it's probably a good reminder in any event. Okay, so I'll just go to my inbox here. Okay, so I just take my email system a second to catch up with everything that's come in. I get a lot of emails, way too many. Here we go. Here's a message from Pat. So I'm logged in as Pat. This is the email I got from Pat right here. Hey guys, remember to send your kids to school with hats for the outdoor programming. Now, here's a big update we made to Hubbli a few months ago. Before, this would come from no reply at hubbli.com, and then you couldn't like respond directly to this email. But now that email comes from Pat Kenefick, the teacher or the user that sent it, and and then and so the message is here. So okay, so I'm the parent and I'm informed. But if I want to actually respond to that, I can just click reply and write an email back to Pat saying, um, maybe a question like, "Are you supplying sunscreen?" I don't know, something that a parent might ask, and then I send that back, and I just hit send, right? So I didn't have to log into Hubbli to actually respond to Pat and ask her a follow-up question. Um, Now, if I refresh this page here in the group, the feed, what we're going to see now is that there's statistics. So look, so it got delivered to 11 people, 3 people opened it, right? So there's other members of the group, and 1 person replied. That's the reply I just sent from my personal inbox back to Pat. So if I click on replied, Jonathan Landon, that's me. He like that account, that user account replied back, and I didn't log in to do that. I just did it from my email inbox. Now check this out. If I go to Pat's profile, so this is her Hubbli profile, where you can see private messages between, 2 different users. So this is Hubbli. This is Pat's profile page, and if I go to messages, I can see that conversation. So here is actually that conversation, because Jonathan Landon replied back to Pat. There's actually a private conversation thread happening by way of email, but also living here. It's being archived here inside Hubbli. So it's like a carbon copy of it shows up inside Hubbli as well. So the whole conversation's right here. This was the original message she sent. Hi guys, remember to send your kids to school with hats. And then this is the reply that I made. And Pat can actually send a reply directly from here, just like any email system. Or she can do that reply from her email. She doesn't, again, she also doesn't have to log in to Hubbli to send that reply. But she can do it from here as well. So it's a totally synchronized communication system between the user inside Hubbli and their email accounts outside of Hubbli, the email accounts that are connected to their Hubbli user profile. So very important element that that is here is that parents, you want to make sure parents don't have to log in to do this communication. This is all actually pretty recent to Hubbli. This is quite a big update we made, and it's not, I'm sure I do believe it. We sent out a notification letting everybody know, but not everybody opens and reads those, of course, and want to make sure you guys knew about that. So that's just really important communication. We think that if you guys are going to have a great communication system, one of the most important elements to that is that parents don't have to log in to receive or reply and carry on the conversation. And that's really important. And then as well, you can also track and know who opened, who clicked, and who replied. That's really helpful. Now so that's group messages, and that's also private messages. So those are 2 important things. And then as well, newsletters here. So this is the new thing that we just launched. So let's go into newsletters. So now inside Hubbli, this used to only exist from the administrative dashboard, but now the group admin can actually send newsletters right from here. So meaning a teacher doesn't have to be a school administrator. They're a teacher at your school, but you've made them, let's say, the administrator of their class group. So they have the access to go here and click create a newsletter. And you can see here, here's a history of newsletters that have been sent in this group. Of course, these are all just a bunch of test, newsletters. But what's also really handy now is that the newsletter history for this group is also available to the members of the group. So the parents of the group can come here. They're not going to be able to send a newsletter. They're just going to see a list of newsletters, but they'll be able to view any previous newsletters. So this is like a nice history, like of communications from that class or that group to the parents, and they can always come here and see the historical archived newsletters that have been sent out to them. Usually we see schools doing this on a weekly basis, and so let's say the teacher's going to go in and send their Friday newsletter. It seems like Friday is like the popular day for teachers to send newsletters. So I'm the teacher, I come in here and I'm going to click create newsletter. So it's this, we've actually made some small tweaks to the newsletter designer as well, so that it's a little clearer and easier to use. Some extra buttons and features up here. You can pick a different template if you want. We'll just stick with this one. But you can edit this template. You can pick different background colors. Under content, you can change the subject line. So let's call this members only coaching test. I'll just copy that into the title of the email as well. Of course, and then here's your standard, Hubbli content editor. You can add pictures. You can go into you can either upload something or you can go into your media folder, grab a picture. Let's grab that nice picture of some children, put that into the newsletter, and make my craft my message. You can format it to format the text, of course. Give it a color, just for fun. Make it orange. Great. Now I can send that out to all the members. Now I can save this and edit it again later, right? I can send it now. I can send a test to myself, right? And then another thing I can do is I can actually also, let me just close this box. I can schedule this to go later. So I can, let's say I want to write my newsletter on Wednesday, but I want it to go out on Friday. So, well, today's Friday, but let's say I wanted it on Friday and I wanted it to go out Monday. So I'll schedule this for Monday, and then I can select the time. I'll make it 5 p.m. and hit schedule. So now that newsletter is scheduled to go out Monday morning. And if I need to, I can go back and edit and make changes, add other pictures or anything like that. So a really, really handy tool. And with that scheduling feature now, you could actually, write a newsletter on one day and, have it queued up to go out at a later date. And so if we look down the list here, this is that newsletter I just created. I said members only coaching, scheduled for the 8th. There you go. So that's something that's I think really, really important for everybody to have, to be using. Let's see here. Stop presenting. So does anybody have some some questions about newsletters, what's best to go into newsletters. One thing that I talk about a lot in the webinars I do with the Montessori Foundation is what is the newsletter for now, right? So if you have Hubbli, and in your Hubbli group, or the system in general, if you're creating events or you're sending posts in the group or you're creating forums, and Hubbli is automatically sending the right information, a lot of the details, to the parents depending on their context with the school. So if you create a group event, the parents can actually synchronize their calendar with their group calendar, and then they're going to any events are going to automatically pop up on their iPhone or whatever, their Google Calendar or whatever. um, um, so Stephanie, I'll get to your question in 1 second. um, so if the group feed is a easier and faster way to send sort of bite-sized real-time information about like details, moment-to-moment details, for that particular group of parents, the question is, what should you do with the newsletter? I think that the newsletter should not have the boring details. Let Hubli's other features handle the information about dates and events and reminders and forms that need to be filled out and things like that Hubbli is doing already, and it already filters it out and makes it automated for you. The newsletter now, because that's already being handled, what I really try to suggest to schools is don't make your newsletter this really long list of like facts and like reminders and things like that. Let Hubbli be the reminder system, because it already does that. Now you have an opportunity with your newsletter to be more engaging and make it a more value added feature or service or communication from the teachers in your school out to the parents. And I really, really, really suggest um, having your teachers write things that are um, about like sort of helpful for parents. I talk a lot about this, like inside of your school, you've got a lot of wisdom. You've got these great teachers, and they're smart people, and they've got a lot to offer, not just the kids, but to the parents too, right? Like, why not have your teachers and your staff um, give the parents some utility, um, you know, informational, educational, inspiring content that really shows your parents that there's so much value there at the school. And this is what I mean by a great communication system, right? Great parent communication isn't just remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that, give me this information, give me that information. That's not great parent communication. That's the boring stuff. That's like, that should be the baseline, right? Great parent communication is like, hey, like, here's a great idea about how to, you know, handle sibling, fights, or how to get your kids to eat vegetables, or, like, this is what we've learned here at the school about, how to handle bullying, things that are real and are like really, really interesting, and, something that the parents can engage and appreciate. Give them something that they can like they can get that newsletter and get an idea about like something that they could do with their kids. So your parent communication system could also be an opportunity to not just educate your students, but to actually have an educational relationship with the parents of your students. And then you've got a very different relationship. Then you've got a relationship of parents that um, value you in a totally different way. Has anybody here done anything like that? Has anybody am I crazy, or does anybody agree with what I'm saying? I'd love to know, because obviously I don't run your school, um, but this is what I think. So I'd like to know what you guys think. Is this is this a worthwhile goal? Um, Because I'll be honest with you, I do talk to some schools that literally tell me they don't want parent engagement. It's been said to me, and I was surprised, but they're just, they're just like, yeah, we don't want parent engagement. We don't want our parents communicating with us, you know. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess we're not a good fit for you, because that's kind of like what we're all about. But when I engage those conversations further, what I really realize is that it's not that they don't want parent engagement, it's that they've been burned by a bad parent communication system. Like, the reason why they don't want more parent communication is because they don't know how to manage it, and they don't know how to engage their parents, unfortunately. So I'm pretty sure that's not the norm out there, but it is out there, and I think this manages the school tells me they don't want parent engagement. I think what they're saying, I think the reality is that they just, I think they're maybe they're overwhelmed, or they don't know how to you know handle the job, maybe. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Um, what what does anybody have any ideas as to what you could send in a newsletter that's not just boring details? Thanks, Monica. Um, I'll also address a question here to the Stephanie asked, so the parents can respond to a newsletter sent by the teacher. Yes. Yeah. So definitely, just yeah. So if a newsletter goes out, the parent can just reply back to that newsletter if there's a follow-up question, or they just want to carry on a conversation about it, and the reply will go back directly to the teacher, or the you know the user, the Hubbli user that sent that message. Anybody that sends a newsletter, the email comes from that person. So if Pat Kenefick went into the group, created a newsletter, and sent it, the email will be from Pat Kenefick. It happens to be that the school admin have the ability to change who it comes from. When you send it, you can actually select a different user for it to come from. That's actually a little feature that's worthwhile to make sure you know about. But a school teacher, somebody that's not a site administrator at Hubbli, can't make that change. If they have the permission to create a newsletter, it's only because they're the group admin, and then they can send it. They don't have it can only come from them. Whoops. So where did I go here? Here we go. So Stephanie, you're saying you like the fact that teachers can create their own newsletter without having to access the dashboard. That was one of the requests, so it's like, we want to allow you to delegate class communication to the teachers, and not have to do it all yourself, because you've got a million other things to do if you're running a school. Um, so um, so it's great to have a system that's easy for the teachers themselves to use, and not have to rely on you to sort of do everything for them. Any other ideas? I'd love to hear ideas that, like, do you guys have an idea of something that would be not like sort of, date or reminder specific, but some type of topic that you could share that maybe a teacher could talk about with, sending a newsletter out to the parents, to their parents, something maybe that's like specific to their class, or to their, it might be easier for the teachers to figure out a topic if you make it really relevant to what's going on you know in the classroom. And here's an idea. If there's lessons going on in the classroom about a particular topic, why not use the newsletter as a tool to share sort of related information or lessons that the parents can actually use with their kids at home. Like, let the lesson extend after they get home, but give them that information with the newsletter. You can attach things. You can add links. I think that would be a really handy tool, a good way to to create that connection between home and classroom, and work partner with the parents to to extend the lesson, and really help the kids get a deeper educational experience. So oh, we got an idea here. Oh yes, you'll be using this feature for your waiting list group. Absolutely. Toilet training is always a big one too. Yeah. Links to resources. Yep. Yeah. So yeah. So talk about toilet training, man. Listen. I've got a 22-month-old child, just about to start soon. If you guys have any, tips on toilet training, send them my way because I know I need them. I'm going to need them. Um, That'll be my first time, going through that process, and I'm sure you guys could probably, you know, give me a book, on the topic. So that's a great idea. Like I said, if my kids were in your school, in your daycare or your classroom, and you sent me something that was relevant to like what I have to face when my kids come home, and you can help me do some, give me some tips on parenting. Um, uh, that would be amazing. I would really, really appreciate that as a parent. You know, so I think that's a great idea, Heather. And another one you just said, Heather, is you're going to use. You've got a waiting list group, so you're taking prospective parents that are on your waiting list, and you're putting them into a group, and that's brilliant because that is a phenomenal way to keep prospective parents engaged. Um, and we can do another session on how to like make that sort of onboarding of prospective parents into your user list, and sort of tagging them as a prospect, putting them into a group. Because another thing you can do now with the newsletter from the admin is you can send it to users that have a role. So if you give you actually don't, Heather, you might not, this is something new, Heather, just so you don't need to actually any longer create a group to send newsletters to a specific group of prospective parents. They can fill out an inquiry form on your site, which will automatically create them as a user in your system and automatically tag them as a prospect. And then you can write a newsletter and send it only to users that have the prospect role. So that actually might be an easier way, and I'd be happy to do that as a session. I think that's a really good, useful um, tool that Hubbli offers with our forms. We create an inquiry form. We have it automatically. So whenever a parent fills out the inquiry form, they actually get, it creates a user, and you can be involved in between that and make it it can require your approval if you want to vet them first. So they fill out the inquiry form, and then they're pending as a user, and then you can call them and make sure that they're not some stalker or something, who knows, and then you vet them, click approved, and then it creates their user, automatically adds them in your user list, but they'll be in the role of a prospect. And then when you create a newsletter, you can just check off, there's an area called receivers, and you check off the prospect for roles, the prospect role, and only the prospects will get your newsletter. So that's a that's actually a brand new feature also to the newsletters, so that it's so it's less work to manage communication specifically to prospects. So that's I think that's that's a really handy feature. I know that could make your lives easier throughout the year. I think what we'll do is maybe make our next session on that topic next week. So we're just starting out this. This is our second time doing this weekly members only coaching webinar, and we're it's loose and kind of figuring it as we go. So I'm really glad to see all you guys here. You like that idea, and you wish you knew about this sooner. Well, thanks, Stephanie. I wish you knew about it sooner too, and but never too late. So next week, I'm gonna go ahead because I just know that that's a really valuable one. So next week, I'm gonna send out. I'll make that the topic. I'll set it up. I'll show you guys how to create an inquiry form if you already have one. How to get it to create a user and mark it as a prospect, and then show you how you can send a newsletter to those prospects. And what's cool is you can actually schedule newsletters to go out to prospects. If you want to be really efficient with your time, you can write a few newsletters, and send them out like monthly, just to drip communication to your prospects. Um, and because the idea is to keep engaging them, right? Because I think that even if a parent comes in as a prospect, and let's say they decide to put their children, like you guys wanted them in the school, like you approved them, and for whatever reason they decided to go to another school in the area or something. Well, why not keep engaging them? Show them that you've got a great communication system. I'm pretty confident that, you know, the other school, like if you are engaging that prospective parent with sending them really helpful, valuable newsletters that they appreciate, um, that aren't really just about selling your school, but are really just like helpful, gifts of information, the same type of thing we talked about, toilet training ideas, things like that. They'll like really, you'll have a relationship with them. They'll see you in a different light than if you were just, not communicating with them. And who knows, like maybe at that point, you can, they'll change their mind. Maybe they won't get the greatest communication experience at their existing school that year, so they'll decide to like revisit you guys, move over. Stephanie, you're asking, is the drip system on here, or do we just post things out at different delivery dates? Yeah, so you just post things out so you can write a series of newsletters and schedule them to go out at a different time, at different dates. So you probably wouldn't want to do too many in advance, maybe one or two or three. But you can essentially that's what a drip email system is. You've identified these people, like anybody in the user list that has this role, let's say prospect, and you can write some newsletters, and you can clone them so that the design is pretty much is the same. It's the same template every time, and you just update the content and schedule them for 1 month, next month, and the month after that. And you've got a great automated parent prospective parent engagement system right there, that you can even track to see who opened, who didn't. And hey, then you can say those parents opened it up. I'm going to actually follow up with those parents because these are the ones that opened it up. That's helpful information, right? If you want to like follow up with a particular prospective parents, you might as well start off and prioritize the ones that are like engaging your content, because you're going to be top of mind, and they're probably going to have a level of appreciation that you sent them some really helpful information. So I got to wrap it up. But that's I hope that was a valuable session for you guys today. And like I said, this is happening every Friday, and I will send out reminders again. So I hope to see you then, and we'll keep this happening. Thanks a lot, guys, and feel free if you have any questions or suggestions on what we can do to make this better. Hit me up, jono@hubbli.com, JONO@hubbli.com. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.